Welcome to another episode of The Dissection. The Mayor of Tshwane, Cilliers Brink, was removed in a vote of no confidence today. The vote was dramatic in that 120 councillors voted in favour of the motion, the vote of no confidence, and only 87 voted against. Basically, the DA and Freedom Front Plus were the only ones which voted against the motion. The DA holds 69 seats in that council, and Freedom Front Plus holds 19 seats. So the 87 seats basically came from those two parties. So this ends Cilliers Brink's term as mayor. He only served as mayor for 18 months. Only 18 months. Here are some reactions from the different parties after the vote happened.
To the residents of Tshwane, the businesses, the churches, everybody who gave your messages of support, I want to tell you that I will not abandon you. The Democratic Alliance will not abandon you. I'm staying in the city of Tshwane. We'll make sure that whatever happens to the government of the city of Tshwane, that the looters, that the corrupt that have now come together to remove our government from power, that they will not do the worst. We will look at protecting the senior management appointees. We look at ensuring that the disciplinary processes that were started against corrupt officials, that they continue, and that even in these difficult circumstances, we will play the role of an effective opposition. That is my commitment to you and the commitment of my team.
We as a Democratic Alliance stand proud with Cilliers Brink and the whole of the executive that has just been taken out through a motion of no confidence. We want to assure all Democrats, all the residents of Tshwane and all the residents of Gauteng that we will not abandon the mission and the drive to ensure that ultimately we have a corrupt-free government that delivers to all the people. We have started making some headways here in Tshwane, and we want to make sure that we'll put Cilliers Brink up again. We'll make sure that we continue to drive the reform of ensuring that ultimately the people of the city of Tshwane, the people of Gauteng will get the services that they deserve and that they so desperately need. So stand with us as we continue on this battle, on this road that we're on, to ensure that ultimately this city of ours gets to get the mayor as good as Cilliers has been, and to make sure that should we not find our way back into this council, that we'll continue to keep those that are in government to account and ensure that ultimately you, the residents, get the services that you deserve and lead a life that you so want to lead. Thank you.
This relationship with the DA really has been really very painful, very toxic. And we lived under an illusion as ActionSA that DA will change and embrace the new democratic South Africa. Unfortunately, we found them to really be dishonest. What actually triggered us to entertain having the discussion with the ANC, that's when DA national leadership went to the ANC national leadership to work with them in trying to remove us. And honestly, anyone who expected ActionSA to sit back and wait for the DA to remove us, honestly, it's unfair and unacceptable, and we will never apologize to anyone about it. So we feel relieved we can start a new chapter for the city of Tshwane. I think one thing I can assure the residents of the city of Johannesburg, we're going to do everything possible in the coming days to negotiate with the ANC to put together a very strong government led by Dr. Nasipi, who is our current deputy mayor, someone who knows the city in and out. So, and the ANC is amenable to let Dr. Nasipi to lead this administration.
Really, I've been given a lifeline. Brink is out, who has been behaving like a racist, who didn't care about our people. So today is historical, really. We really believe that the new leadership of Tshwane will change the outlook of Tshwane, and many people will really warasa masha. So I really believe that this is historical indeed. We want to thank our leadership for working with us. We want to thank the people of Tshwane, the regional leadership of Tshwane, but how the workers of Tshwane have been consistent about their crimes, how they are treated in this municipality, how things have been happening for the longest of time. So I really thank everyone who has contributed all the political parties who came together and say we've got one mission. We must not be about partisan, but we must be about people of Tshwane. And we really believe that things will change. They've been outside for the longest of time. So we're very proud of our councillors. We're very proud of the engagements we've had with all the political parties. So yeah, today history has been made.
What do we do with that? It's one thing to mobilize all political parties to remove a sitting leader, a mayor in this instance. But thereafter, what happens? Because the concern about for a lot of people is the instability. What plan does the ANC have to ensure that there's no political instability, there is no service delivery that is going to be affected? Because you ultimately criticize him for poor service delivery, among others. But what is it that you are going to do with this victory to make sure that things can only get better moving forward?
We need finances that are stabilized. We need to make sure that we change the situation of Tshwane as far as the finances are concerned. But secondly, the relationship and the working relationship between province, national, and the local government, very, very critical. We must not play politics. Because the biggest challenge that you find is that you find local government not allowing the provincial government to intervene, or even national, because people are playing politics. They don't want this one to claim. For instance, we have an issue of water in Hammanskraal, which has been a stumbling block for the longest of time because the local government, which was led by DA, was not allowing the ANC government to intervene.
That started even under the ANC.
The point that we are making is that that thing happened for 7 years. As we are speaking today, there's an intervention. I'm sure you know about that. So the point that I'm making is that you need a seamless government. You need cooperation, but you don't need a bigger brother approach when you're in the coalition. If you look at all the coalitions that were rising and were running in the province, they're seamless. There's a good working relationship because we understand these coalitions. They're never predictable. But if you do have a big brother attitude, they will catch up with you.
The parties also exchanged statements today on social media, and the statements that they exchanged were very full of emotion, very full of drama. Let's start with the ActionSA statement. This is what it says. ActionSA welcomes the decisive action taken today by the City of Tshwane councillors to remove Cilliers Brink as the mayor of the capital city. The decisive step taken today brings an end to an 8-year failed reign of the DA in Tshwane. If Cilliers Brink were an ANC mayor, he would be regarded by the same people who defend him now as an average mayor by any objective measurement of the current state of the city of Tshwane. ActionSA does not say this with amnesia, in the sense that we have been part of this ill-fated government. It is precisely because we have been part of mediocre governance that we felt we have a duty to act in the interests of those who deserve better, all of the residents of Tshwane. However, with constitutional power vested in the mayor, the DA has run Tshwane since 2016, together with all the important utilities portfolio, which oversees water, electricity, sewage, and sanitation. In a recently commissioned market research conducted as part of ActionSA's review, only 36 of respondents felt that the city was moving in the right direction over the past 18 months, with 54% believing the city had gotten worse and a further 10% indicating that no improvements had been experienced. When one looks at the differences between suburban and township communities in Tshwane, the real problem emerged. In suburban communities, 64% of respondents indicated an improvement in service delivery, while in townships this number was as low as 24%. In this shocking statistic lies the problem that ActionSA found itself in a coalition at the mercy of a mayor from a party who has no discernible constituency in the townships of the city he governed. It is for this reason, and many others, that ActionSA Tshwane councillors joined forces with the ANC and other parties in voting out the DA Executive Mayor Brink, and within 14 days, we will join forces again in voting in the new Executive Mayor. ActionSA is and will forever be beholden to our members and supporters and the delivery of quality services to all residents of the nation's capital. That's what ActionSA says. They're saying the DA did nothing in Soshanguve, did nothing in any of the townships, and as a result of that, they had to bounce. Obviously, that's part of the story. So the full story. Let's see what, and I'm going to talk about all of these dynamics later. What did the DA say? This is what the DA said. Today, 26 September 2024, will go down in history as a day that an outright backstabber sunk a functional government and in doing so traded stability for chaos. ActionSA has disrupted the course of progress and unity that the Tshwane multiparty coalition government worked tirelessly to build. ActionSA's backstabbing played right into the hands of the ANC's power hunger. The ANC has no interest in good governance in Tshwane, but wants to pillage and steal from a stabilized government. This will no doubt destabilize Tshwane, and ActionSA is duly complicit in this power grab. The Doomsday Coalition has now taken over Tshwane, and it will go the same road as Johannesburg and Ekhuruleni. A future of urban decay and service delivery failure lies ahead for the good citizens of Tshwane. Once parties get a scent of what they perceive to be power, evidently they will sacrifice constitutional principles for the fulfillment of misplaced personal vendettas. The Democratic Alliance has and always will be a party that puts residents first, residents' needs first. Today, a government that did exactly that has been ousted. Good and responsible governance has been sacrificed for a matrimony that will undoubtedly leave the people of Tshwane worse off than ever before. Under the guise of change, ActionSA has broken a coalition that was created to collaborate with integrity and shared the goal of building a capital city that works for all of its people. The trust and aspirations of every citizen who believed that Tshwane could in fact work has been broken. Make no mistake, what unfolded in the council chambers today will only stunt the economic and social advancement we've worked so hard to bring about. Trust in Tshwane's institutions, especially financial institutions, has been destroyed today. The DA will keep a close watch on the following. Any attempts to reverse disciplinary action against 5 senior officials implicated in the irregular Roywell tender. Any attempt to remove professional, non-political senior managers to clear the way for fraud, corruption, and interference with tenders. Any attempt to direct officials to award tenders to companies associated with the ANC and EFF. The people of Tshwane deserve better than the instability made possible by ego-driven individuals who, in betraying them, have also betrayed South Africa. The DA caucus will proudly take up our seats as the official opposition in the city of Tshwane. In the face of adversity and instability, we will hold a broken executive to account. We have, and always will be, unforgiving in our oversight roles. This is what the DA said. We will continue to protect the people of Tshwane under any and all conditions. It's a lot. It's a lot. Okay, here are my views. Let's go in. I'm going to go party by party. Firstly, the DA. Number one, the DA cannot expect loyalty from ActionSA when they threw them under the bus. When they formed the Moonshot Pact, and then that became the multi-party bus and whatever it was called, they had some documents and some agreements in that particular coalition. And one of those was that they were not going to make a deal with the ANC. The DA made a deal with the ANC. They said, we are doing it to stop the Doomsday Coalition of the EFF and MK. That's their version. They branded this entity Doomsday. And then they said, we are stopping the Doomsday Coalition. Right? That's your reasoning. That's your justification. That's how you want to sell it to the people. That doesn't stop other people from coming up with another set of reasons for saying why they want to make another coalition with the ANC. So now you see Herman Mashaba's party is saying, well, we did a survey. 24% of the people in the township said that they don't feel like their service delivery. We're in this coalition with the ANC. It is a disaster coalition. It is a elite coalition, whatever they want to say, whatever label they come up with, right? A no service coalition, for instance. If they say it's a no service coalition, we out. They can do the same thing that you did. You don't have a monopoly on creating a reason to walk away from an agreement or to renege on an agreement that other people can't also access and exercise in the same way that you did. So if you can go to the public and say, we don't want doomsday, we're going to make a deal with the ANC to stop doomsday. ActionSA can say, we don't want to have doom service delivery. We don't want to have gloom service delivery. We don't want to have a no service coalition. DA is not serving townships, not serving Soshanguve. We out. We also want to do this thing. So you can't expect loyalty from ActionSA as the Democratic Alliance. The very premise of that conversation is one that is illogical when you threw them under the bus to access power. Now you are saying that they're throwing you under the bus to access power. You both did the same thing. You all wanted power. And you all wanted power with the ANC. So it can't be that the ANC, sometimes you see it in one way. There's a Ramaphosa ANC, there's a GP ANC, there's a LP ANC, there's a... No. It's one ANC, and your manifesto said that. The DA's manifesto said that there are 3 problems in South Africa: corruption, crime, cadre deployment, that have caused 30 years of bad service delivery, bad financial management, and everything in South Africa, crime, etc. And they blamed the ANC for that. Then they got into bed with the ANC. So what's good for the goose is good for the gander. What's chicken for Nando's is chicken for KFC, is chicken for all of the other entities, Pedro's, Muchachos, chicken. All that is going to happen now is how are you going to spice the chicken? But the chicken is the chicken. You can't expect loyalty from ActionSA when you threw them under the bus, when you made various deals with them that were not necessarily honored on your side. That's just the bottom line. First thing. Number 2, the DA needs to work on its relationships with other political parties. They are often accused of being arrogant. They seem to be dismissive. They seem to be undermining the goodwill that you need to have diplomatic relationships across party lines in a coalition environment. You can't be in this new environment being arrogant, being haughty-taughty and all of that towards other parties, being condescending. You cannot do that and expect to have your needs, aspirations, and goals listened to by those people with the same level with the attention that you desire. This sounds like some spoiled child who only cares for themselves but has multiple siblings. Yes, you are one of the family members, but you're not the only family member. There are siblings. Your needs are important, but they're not the only needs. So this is a thing that I observed when I was watching how the DA was talking about this deal in the weeks prior to this vote. They were very arrogant on social media. They were attacking him in Mashaba. They were blaming him. They were doing a lot of things. But all of that did not seem to me to be the posture that you need to be taking with somebody who's supposed to be your coalition partner, your padre, your compadre. How are you handling it like this? How are you engaging with your partner in this manner? That did not strike me as the right approach. Even in a domestic relationship, once you start doing what Latoya and the other lady are doing, where everything is being exposed on podcasts, it's game over. Once you are there talking about your partner, no, my partner is not giving me nyash. No, my partner is not giving me hash. No, my partner is not... on social media. On social media. You know, there's that meme there where... Is it a meme? It's a clip where there's a pastor who's singing. And then he's singing, and then what he sings is Sizo la la na ye, something to that effect. When you are busy posting all of those things, rivals are saying Sizo la la na ye. Actually, I say Sizo la la na ye. Sizo la. That's what is happening. Every time Helen Zille was jumping on that thing, the other political parties will say Sizo la la na ye. Because what are you doing? What are you doing? You have to work on that. Helen Ziller, John Steenhuisen, senior leaders of the DA, you cannot operate with a bus mindset when you're talking to peers, right? You are not in charge. Everyone is in charge. It's power sharing. So when you are talking to people who you are sharing power with, you cannot come as if you are the manager or you want to talk to the manager. And by the way, Mr. Ramaphosa is aware of all of this. He's aware. Some of these things, you guys think that there's a different chat happening, maybe in the president's office to the one that's happening in Gauteng. These are part of the ANC, these people who have made this deal. They are all part of this. So you can't say, no, Mr. Ramaphosa, we're going to come correct. When we go to China, we're going to laugh, we're going to smile, we're going to everything. And then when it's Panyaza, this doomsday Panyaza. You can't. You can't do that. You have to work on these things, Democratic Alliance. Number 3, I think that the DA, did a lot to try to keep this post, but it didn't work, and they have to reflect on their strategy as well. They protested earlier today. There were protests. People were asked to wear blue Thursday or something. I don't know, but there were a few people at the protest anyway. It didn't look as if they had enough people, which also shows me that maybe even in the suburbs, some people are not happy with the performance of the DA in Tshwane. Do you live in Tshwane? Let's have a conversation. What have been your experiences of the DA's leadership in Tshwane, especially since the 2021 local government elections? Let me know. Let me know in the comment section if you live there or if you go there frequently. I know for a fact that I heard a senior business school lecturer say that Tshwane had gotten worse in recent years. I heard him say that. I was in the room. He said it. It was during a panel discussion. And this is a business school, which is one of the top ranked business school. And he went in on the DA leadership. So anyway, they did a lot today, right? The mayor before today also did a lot. The mayor did a whole media tour. He was on every radio station. He was on every podcast. He was on Sizwe. He was on Clement. He was everywhere. This man did a larger media tour than Tyler did to promote the song Water. He was there. Make me stay. Give me votes. It was not working. It was not working. They did not pour him water today. They poured vinegar into his wounds. Salt and vinegar into those wounds. That's the status of his situation right now. Media tour didn't work. So there's a question there around the strategy. Like, what were you thinking was going to happen with that particular approach, that particular messaging? DA also tried to threaten ActionSA. And I think this threatening was about the relationship with the donors. The way that they were saying, like, you have ended yourselves, you have ruined your own future, etc., etc. I don't think that this was a conversation about votes, but about donors. I think that the DA believes that it has stronger relationships with the donors, the Ruperts, for example, the Oppenheimers, and all of these people Michel Leroux and all of that, who fund politics or are part of the political infrastructure behind the scenes, because money is a big part of this game. I hope you notice that. I'm going to do a special episode on the funding. It's coming, right? So I think that they were trying to threaten ActionSA, but ActionSA is predominantly funded by one person, Martin Moshal, the creator of Betway, and he seems to have a very strong relationship with Herman Mashaba, and I don't think that the DA is going to be able to break this relationship. Also, ActionSA has a good reason that they've come up with. They said, we did a survey, 64% say this, 24% say that, whatever. I don't know what the 2% said, but there it is. So now, when I'm not saying 2%, it's not adding up to 100, because it's 64-24. That's what they said, right? That's 88. So there's a 12%, I guess, which didn't say anything or didn't say anything one way or another. If this survey was done in a way that is statistically sound, I don't know. But they've got a reason now that they can go even to donors with and say, hey, we're looking bad in that coalition. Social movie, that's our base. We can't stay in a coalition where these guys are not delivering to our people. So that's something there as well, right? That's something that has to be considered in the matrix by the donors, right? And they have a reason. But I think that the relationship between Herman Mashaba and Moshal is so strong that it's not going to be deteriorated by this, because it seems to predate any of these political machinations which have happened. So he may view himself as an ActionSA guy first, even though he also donated to DA and other parties as well. Right. There's something very important, though, that I want to talk about in terms of the DA. Right. And it's this. It seems to me that the DA are becoming a spectator, a VIP spectator in the coalition. They are there, but they are not influential. You know, when you are a VIP, like even at the NBA, LeBron James can sweat and spit on you, but you cannot call the plays. You're there, but you're not there in the same way that the coach is there, right? Why am I saying this? The DA has lost a variety of issues that they felt strongly about in these 100 days of this GNU coalition. And I think that the ANC is now figuring out a way how to keep them in a corner. Think about it. They lost the Gauteng province issue. They were supposed to be part of the coalition. It didn't happen. Panyaza just basically said, I'm coming with my Steve Biko t-shirt. You guys can jump. And they were like, whoop. And they jumped, right? And then nothing happened. They lost the Bella Bill issue. President signed that thing last week, Friday. Was it last week? Has it been that? I can't remember. Was it last week or the previous week? Anyway, he signed it, right? They lost that issue. He gave them a face-saving gesture to say, I'm going to postpone this by 3 months so that everything else can start rolling. And then, your thing in 3 months, we'll see if you guys can convince me otherwise. But it's very likely that in that 3 months that comes, they will not get much progress there. And now they've lost the Tshwane mayorship to the same Gauteng GP. I mean, not Gauteng GP, ANC Gauteng, right? So these are significant losses. I don't know if they can continue to pretend like these losses are not so bad, but it's just been 100 days of the GNU, and already you're losing impact. You're losing influence. So what does that mean for them? It means that they either stay, smile and wave, or they go. Are they going to go? I don't think they're going to go. Why? Number one, because their donors want them to stay. Number two, because the markets want them to stay. And number three, because they've already said that their worst case scenario is the Doomsday Coalition. Which coalition is that? MK, ANC, EFF. So they've said that's their worst coalition option. That's their worst scenario for South Africa. So as a result of that, they have held themselves hostage. Because they said, no, we're going to stay here and try to make it work. Because if we don't move, if we move, MK and EFF are going to come in and you know what they're going to do. So now you're telling the ANC this. They are listening to you as well. It's not like every time DA speaks, ANC is like, nah, I can't hear you. No, they can hear you. It's not a playground. They can hear you. And you're saying you will do anything to stay in this relationship. Really? That's the key to abuse? I'll do anything. I'm desperate. Okay, so again. This is what's happening. This is what is happening. This is what is happening to them. Don't you see it? They're becoming a VIP spectator in the coalition. How are they going to have leverage for the NHI? Because now it's a slice. Nothing happened. It's another slice. Nothing happened. Another slice. Nothing happened. Another slice. Another slice. Another slice. Another slice. 3 years down the road, will they not be hollow from all of these slices? I don't know. Anyway, on the other side of the equation is the fact that they still have ministers who are operating, who are trying to do their best. There's, contestation because Siviwe now is trying to do a few things, and I don't know if she'll be successful. Siviwe Kharube, the Minister of Education, Basic Education. We haven't seen a lot from the Minister of Communications, but John went to China. He's having his own problems, with his office. so he's not the most potent guy. Dean McPherson has been doing, some work that is visible, or he at least came out of the gate swinging. But long term, will the DA not become a VIP spectator in this coalition? What do you guys think? I'm seeing it. The last thing I want to say about the DA before I talk about the ANC and the ActionSA, they did not make an impact in Tshwane in many areas. And the criticisms of their service delivery in areas like Soshanguve, I think, are justified. If you go to Pretoria, Tshwane, and you go to the nice places, the upper echelon parts, whether the year is 2010 or 2024, those parts have always been groovy and nice and great. But some parts I've been hearing complaints about, even under the DA. For example, people told me that Hatfield is no longer safe. Students said, no, Hatfield is no longer safe. People are no longer as safe as they used to feel there. And that used to be a very safe area. And this is under DA. So some of these criticisms I don't think are unfair. If you live in Tshwane, do you think that the criticisms are unfair? Pretoria always had nice parts, affluent areas. Affluent areas, guys, can be misleading because they're not a good test of government, in a sense. Why do I say this? Because rich people always get taken care of comparatively to everyone else. Even if you go to Togo, say you go to Togo tomorrow, and you say, where do the rich people live in Togo? You will find that in their areas, everything is nice. In Nigeria, there's this Lekki Island, I think it's called. I'm not sure. If you're from Nigeria, please help us, because we do have people watching from across the continent. Lekki Island, nice. They're apparently the richest of the rich in Nigeria live there, and they have everything. If I just took you from New York, boom, straight into Lekki Island, without you going through any of the other parts of Nigeria in terms of like delivery and the hecticness, you will think that everything is all groovy. But Nigeria can be rough. I went to Nigeria. Hey, we almost died in Nigeria. It's a story for another day. But our bus got hijacked by armed robbers. We had to jump out of windows. I was with somebody called Oliver Dixon who works in radio and TV. So he's my witness. It was hectic. So I have mixed feelings about Nigeria. But if you go to the fancy parts of Nigeria, beautiful. Which is why I'm making the submission to you that you cannot always measure an area based on the quality of service in the rich areas only. That is not a good way to measure service delivery. Let's talk about ANC. ANC is actually showing strategic strength in Gauteng province. They're showing strategic strength. Some of the weaknesses that I identified for the DA are therefore strengths for the ANC. First and foremost, Panyaza Lesufi just basically pushed the DA out of the coalition. He was like, I don't want to play with these children. They must leave. And he's not playing with them. He's playing with Rise Mzansi. He's playing with Patriotic Alliance. But no DA. They're nowhere to be found at the provincial level of leadership. Right? So that's one win for ANC Gauteng. Then they got the Mayor of Johannesburg deal. Another win for ANC Gauteng. Then now they've removed the Mayor of Tshwane. And remember, ANC loves Tshwane. They were in charge of Tshwane for a very long time. And they lost it. And they never forgot that they lost it. So now ANC has brought it back home, kind of, a little bit closer to home. They're going to feel like they have a bigger say now than obviously they had before when they were out of the coalition. So these are strategic wins and victories for ANC Gauteng, whether you like them or you don't like them. You have to be, I no longer support an English Premier League team. I used to support Manchester United passionately, but since Ferguson, I gave them three seasons to get their act together. And when I saw that, hey, these guys are not getting their act together, I said, look, now I'm not a fan anymore. We are just like seeing where this thing goes. So I downgraded them from fan to vibing. We were vibing. And then, when I saw that no, David Moyes and everything that happened after that, I was like, you know what? Let's actually start seeing other people. But I can't support Man City because out of respect to the old relationship, I can't support Liverpool, never. Arsenal, nope. So also Chelsea, never support Chelsea. So even though I'm not a Man United fan anymore, I've got 4 teams I can't support, and I'm just without a home. I kind of like support Saka a little bit because I like the way he plays soccer. But the point I'm trying to make is even if I feel a little bit a fondness towards Manchester United, I can't ignore a score line. A score line is a score line. And when we have these conversations, we have to be very, very clear. Our feelings, our support, the score line. The score line is objective. It doesn't care about our feelings. It doesn't care about our ideology. It is what it is, as the meme goes. It is what it is. Now, ANC is doing well in Gauteng from a political strategy perspective. They are consolidating power in Gauteng. And this success by the ANC in Gauteng, this particular ANC, makes me think that there will be strong leadership contenders coming out of this particular province for the next ANC conference. I think that there'll be strong contenders coming through. I think Panyaza Lucifi will be contesting for something significant. Something significant. So if Paul Mashatile goes for president, what does Panyaza go for? But he'll go for something. So this may very well be the era where the ANC Gauteng takes over the ANC National, move it away from Limpopo into Gauteng, right? Limpopo ANC going into the next conference, I think, will be dealing with many issues of VBS. I think those issues are not going away. And I think some of them may actually end up in arrests, etc., of ANC going to 2027. It's very possible. So it's going to be shaking. We already know ANC KZN has fallen apart. ANC in KZN has totally fallen apart. They're still there, but they're not as influential as they were before, and they've lost a lot of support. They were governing KwaZulu-Natal outright. They lost and they fell to, 17% or something like that from 50-something. That is a dramatic fall. It's the worst fall in terms of just ANC performances across the board. Limpopo stayed in the 70s. Eastern Cape stayed in the 70s. What happened in KwaZulu-Natal was a total bloodbath. Of course, it was because of the MK party. We all know that. It was because of the MK party, right? We're aware of that. However, we can't ignore that the fall is so dramatic. And even though they will continue, because they do have positions within the various, in that coalition, that provincial coalition that was formed, they do have positions there. They're not going to really be able, I think, to rebuild and regroup while MK is in existence. And there are some who think that, well, what if something happens to Jacob Zuma, if Jacob Zuma passes away, etc., etc.? Will that lead to loss of support for the MK? I don't think so. It may actually lead to more support because of how people feel about how Zuma was treated. The people who support MK, they want to Kwazam Konto. You know that song? Kwazam Konto. Don, don, don. Kwazam Konto. That's what they want to do. They want to Kwazam Konto everybody. They want to Kwazam Konto everybody. So, having said that, I therefore think that there's not really going to be a lot of strong contention coming out of KZN, in terms of ANC conference. You can't come with a big chest to national conference if your province is falling apart in terms of your own support. It's not going to happen. I think that when it comes to Eastern Cape, I don't think that Eastern Cape ANC is led by strong contenders. If you look at how Oscar Mabuyane did, he didn't do so well at the conference when he contested for deputy president, right? And people like Stella Ndabeni-Abrahams are going to face some criticisms, I think, for their performances as minister. Stella, I think she's very close in terms of the current administration. I don't think that she will actually be able to stand out in the next administration. Ramaphosa has got many people who are under him and are shining under him, but I don't think that they'll do well by themselves. I don't think Ronald Lamula, for example, does well by himself. I don't think Stella does well. In their own name, without Ramaphosa support, I don't think they do well. maybe they'll still get lots of money, etc. But I think that the money may not necessarily be flowing in the same way that it was for, first conference and maybe even second conference for the Ramaphosa faction. They may actually struggle with funding in that respect. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But in any event, this is what I think today's events do for the ANC in Gauteng. They strengthen them. ActionSA. Let's talk about ActionSA as we conclude. I think that ActionSA has done what they needed to do, right? They're taking matters into their own hands. They were bamboozled, hoodwinked by the DA into this moonshot thing. The moonshot thing was never going to lead to a growth for ActionSA. It was a dilution strategy by the DA, and it worked. I don't know why Herman Mashaba bought into it in the first place. It was never good for you, Baba. Never. You don't walk away in 2019 from the DAs, dramatically so, saying these people are this, these people are that. Then chigi, you are back in a coalition with them. In as much as the DA thinks that these types of deals have got logical coherence, you're going to make a deal with this guy, that sometimes the public is looking like, So a pre-election, coalition was always going to adversely affect ActionSA. Then they started recruiting a lot of former leaders of the DA into their own ranks, DA-fying their green thing. So I don't know what happens when you mix green and blue. I don't know what is the color combination. I don't remember, right? But that's basically, people were not buying into that thing. So they had to take matters into their own hands. Obviously, they fell significantly. You contest in one province, you get 500 and something thousand votes. You compete nationally with more money, and then you get 100,000 or so votes. You're definitely going to know that, no, the DECA report is negative. Lights are flashing everywhere. Battery light. Everything is just bust. Messed up. So, at that point, you have to take matters into your own hand. You have to do something drastic. I think that they realized that they needed somewhere where they can try to rebuild their voter base since the collapse. Somewhere where they can have some power, some influence, have a mayor who maybe will be able to recreate the Herman Mashaba effect when he was mayor of Johannesburg. It must definitely hurt for them to be in this. So in as much as they said earlier in their statement that this is just about, residents of Tshwane, etc. No. It's also about you. You want to have a stronger performance. You want to be able to find a way to distinguish yourself in this coalition, in this grouping, and you were struggling to do that. So now you have to try to make a plan. Understandable. And you are justified to do so in the same way that the DA did with the ANC. One of the things that I want to say, and I forgot to say it earlier, is that the DA said that they are trying to avoid the MK and ANC coalition, doomsday coalition. But isn't it kind of already happening? So if you're trying to avoid it and it's happening, what must happen, right? Why am I saying that? I mean, even though there are no explicit deals between, ANC, EFF, etc., in these votes that have happened, it's very clear that in the most economically important province in South Africa, which is still Gauteng, not Western Cape, right? The coalition that they said is going to lead to all of this chaos, corruption, etc., is already kind of in effect. Is de facto in effect, even if it's not like, written out or whatever the case may be. There is some kind of an arrangement, right? So that's just a thing. Anyway, speaking about all of this, I've spoken a lot about the political parties and the power brokerage and all of this stuff. And, politics has this sometimes effect where we can pay attention to all of that and forget about the people. So what's next for the people of Tshwane? And I think that's a big question. If you live in Tshwane, tell us, what do you think about everything that's happening? There are so many local government challenges which residents have been facing and are worried about, even now, even today, even as they're going to sleep. So many issues, and I'm going to perhaps go to Tshwane, speak to a few people on the ground, bring you that level of focus and detail. right? People are worried about many things. So there's a lot of pressure on ANC and ActionSA. They will have to prove to people that they can deliver. The mayor of Tshwane didn't become mayor of Tshwane didn't become a DA mayor by accident. People were unhappy with ANC. They were unhappy with it and the service delivery. There were protests. Sputla must go, etc. Now he's Minister of Electricity and Energy. Sure, Hosienzo Ramokgopa. He was removed by the voters. They don't want him anymore. So, big question. What's next for the people of Tshwane? What's next? What's next? The thing that the ANC and ActionSA have to be very aware of is that if they don't effectively move the needle for people, if they don't change those lives, those 64% or so that they were saying that didn't feel there was a change in their lives under the leadership of the DA, I don't think that those people are going to vote for them in the next election. Local government elections are in 2026. This is a very high stakes game that you guys are playing. And voters may very well punish you. The voter dynamics in Tshwane, no one is promised votes there. They can shift dramatically. They can shift. And it's very possible that if you guys don't deliver, those votes will go to MK, EFF, DA, Freedom Front Plus. And it will become worse for you in local government, ActionSA and ANC. It's a very high risk game that everyone is playing here. And we must never forget that at the end of the day, politics is about people. And all politics is local. And if the people keep losing, they will choose different politicians. That's it, guys. Till the next one.